J. Cole is dropping a lot of snippets and a lot of hints towards his upcoming album, The Fall Off, and we're going to be breaking down all the unreleased music we're hearing, all the guest appearances we're seeing, and just generally everything we're coming to learn about this upcoming album through his latest blog post. What's up, y'all? I'm Devon here again for Obligatory. We do a weekly music news segment on this channel every single Friday. Today is March 22nd. 2024, and at the end of these videos we always have my editor's picks of this week of new releases and then the upcoming albums for next week, next month, and for the rest of the year. So stay tuned to the end of the video for that. But we start with J. Cole, who is currently on tour with Boss and Drake. Now, simultaneously, he is also rolling out his next album while finishing it. While we wait, Cole has begun the process of posting a couple 10 to 12 minute vlogs to Instagram, made up of tour footage and in-studio footage, as well as unreleased music and even a music video here and there. J. Cole posted the first Might Delete Later vlog on his Instagram a little less than a month ago. And through these, we've heard a lot of breadcrumbs about the album as well as new music, and some of them are more in-studio playback recordings and others are, like I said, like music videos. A little bit before this, we hear J. Cole making a beat, and that's something that he's been talking about, getting himself back into producing regularly, and maybe we'll hear some of his own beats on this album. Now, after that clip, we get the first snippet, and this song features some pretty fat drums, some rolling hi-hats. It's got kind of a trap feel to it, but a really crazy synth sound over the whole thing. But that's all we get, plus a few lyrics, and this one is pretty short. Then around the 2.5 minute mark, we get the ad for a J. Cole branded sneaker, the Dreamer Indy 5000. And this is followed right up with another snippet. It features Boss on what sounds like the hook, followed by a pretty good chunk of a J. Cole verse. And if I'm not mistaken here, I may be identifying this incorrectly, but it sounds like kind of a Jersey drill drum pattern to this song. It's very slick. It's very catchy. I dig it. And then at 4.5 minutes, we get a pretty straight up boom bap instrumental in what looks like a more proper stylized music video akin to what we saw in the first vlog. This is the longest snippet that we get by far at 90 seconds, and it's pretty damn awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the beat has some edge to it. J. Cole sounds hungry, sounds solid. It's probably the best lyrics of any of these tracks we hear. We get a very, very brief preview of a song that Cole is working on in studio at 8.5 minutes. Then finally at the 10:45 mark, we get some audio where we can hear a brief cameo from Cameron over a beat with a nice Chipmunk soul sample. And then right as J. Cole goes in for the first line of the track, it pretty much just cuts off there. And that's pretty much the end of the video. Now, if you recall, J. Cole had Cameron do the intro to his last album, The Off Season. But if you call this phone number that's on the screen during this snippet, then what you hear on the other end of the phone is yet another snippet. And this one, I would say, is pretty interesting. It features more of like a spoken word rap style from Cole over a pretty understated instrumental. The snippets aren't the only thing. Again, there is in-studio footage, there is tour footage, and we get a lot of cameos from Drake and Boss. We also see artists like Sexy Red, Benny the Butcher, Lil Yachty, and Central C, and more. Perhaps the most exciting to me is Conductor Williams, who, if you don't already know, you better find out. He's one of my favorite producers. Really linked to the Griselda scene, really a creative sample chooser, and I think he could work wonders for J. Cole. And it seems like they're locked in together on some things, and so I'm just hoping, I'm fucking praying that there are multiple Conductor Williams beats on The Fall Off. I think that would go a long, long way to making this a really solid project. I think what we've discussed here gives us a pretty great idea as to what the sound and feel of this upcoming project is going to be like. J. Cole sounds pretty hungry and pretty seasoned, and the instrumentals here generally fall on more of the underground or boom bap or even hip-hop head side of things. Many of you probably don't know how much of a J. Cole fan I used to be back in the day, but let this album be good. That side will come right back out at me, I promise. Also have to wait and see for a while when we're actually going to hear this thing. I think it could be a minute. He's still working on it. He's still touring, so I don't think it's imminent. I also wanted to talk about Childish Gambino this week because there was some smoke around his name and a potential new release. Now, some people thought he was going to release a new album this week, and I don't think that's what the announcement was. It seems as though Childish Gambino is setting up to re-release his 31520 album, which just turned 4 years old this week. This likely means a more proper title name. I've seen Atavista thrown out there, proper song titles, probably an actual album cover. I hope it's not this, though. Whatever this is, whatever Donald posted, I don't like it. Let me just say I'm very glad that he's doing this, because despite the fact that the music itself from that album feels like a fleshed out body of work, the whole untitled white album, no song titles thing, it really undermines the whole creative effort and felt like kind of a self-sabotagey, overall unsatisfying thing. Now, Gambino did say about as much in a semi-recent interview when he was asked about whether he feels the album has kind of gone under the radar in part because of the presentation of it. Now, he does give some reason as to the decisions. Now, he does give some reason as to the thought process for those decisions, but he does seem to agree that it somewhat dampened the appeal of the album to his non-core fan base. From what we're reading and hearing so far, a potential re-release of this album may include a previously unreleased track that Gambino performed about 5 years ago when this album was coming out. It's titled Human Sacrifice, and it looks to be taking the place of his smash hit song Feels Like Summer. Now, we know for rather certain that this isn't a whole new body of work, or that this probably won't even be a greatly altered album. The small handful of song titles that we actually got when the album came out are where they were originally, and the timestamps look to be consistent with the original album as well. There was some hope, some hype, some smoke around the idea that maybe we could hear this thing today, given that today is that 4-year anniversary, but nothing yet, and we'll just have to wait and see and stay tuned in on this. It does feel like something's coming, though. Aside from that, we wanted to give a shout out to a couple new hip-hop biography books that are on the way. The first being an MF Doom biography, The Chronicles of DOOM, written by Skiz Fernando, set to come out on October 30. So a 300-page biography on the life and times and the career and the many personas of MF Doom is set to release near the 4-year anniversary of his passing. If you've never heard or seen or read about the story of MF Doom's life and career start to finish, it is one that certainly deserves to be documented in this manner. SH, or Skiz Fernando, is a former musician and music critic and music journalist. He's authored several books based on hip-hop, probably most notably From the Streets of Shaolin, the Wu-Tang Saga. Then we have the De La Soul biography, High and Rising, written by Marcus J. Moore, coming November 19th. This one is billed a little bit more to be a cultural biography based on the impact of De La Soul's 1989 debut album, 3 Feet High and Rising. That album was definitely a page-turner for the hip-hop history books and really helped to influence a new era of hip-hop music moving forward. Marcus J. Moore is another successful journalist and author who recently wrote The Butterfly Effect, How Kendrick Lamar Ignited the Soul of Black America. So we'll see how those things turned out. Last week we talked about Questlove's new book, Hip Hop is History, that's coming out later this year as well. Then, Mask the Slump God recently sat down for an interview with Bootleg Kev, and in a pretty quick clip, he mentioned both a new album he's working on for himself, he's trying to release on or around his birthday, April 18th, with features from Dominic Fike and Juice WRLD, but he also mentioned that he's been working with the Alchemist and that they've been collaborating on possibly a new project, possibly an album. They're trying to figure out if it's an album or something else. Dr. Dre announced this week that Eminem is indeed working on an album. The two of them, Snoop Dogg and I think 50 Cent, were on with Jimmy Kimmel this week. So that's all the news of the week. The new releases and editors' picks of new releases for this week are now on your screen. Now, this isn't all the new releases. We normally post that on Obligatory's Instagram page. But these are some of the albums, EPs, and singles that, as a group of us at Obligatory, are paying a little bit more attention to this week. We wanted to highlight the new Future and Metro Boomin album, of course, new albums from Sir of TDE and Matt Champion of Brockhampton. I am once again telling you guys not to sleep on the new Richie singles. Richie of By Storm, formerly known as Injury Reserve, coming out with a solo project here very soon. Also want to mention the second Shabaka single from his upcoming album. This one features floating points and has smaller inclusions from Esperanza Spalding and Andre 3000. For the albums announced this week, I'm including a couple that were announced on Friday while I was recording this video. The first being Rock Marciano's Marciology is coming a week from today. And then Bryson Tiller posted an announcement that he's back and will be coming with a self-titled album 2 weeks from today. Albums releasing next week is an absolute mixed bag. There are like 14 albums I have here so far, but like none of them go together. Of course, the biggest album is going to be Beyonce's Cowboy Carter, but also I recently mentioned the Rock Marciano album. Trippie Redd and MGK releasing a collab album titled Genre Sad Boy. Definitely an interesting week. Like I said, just a real mixed bag. And then albums releasing in April is looking pretty good. As you know, I am campaigning for this Richie album. I hope it's going to be great. And then the Future Metro Boomin album that released today, there's going to be a follow-up to it in a few weeks. So we'll see what that will actually be like, if it's a deluxe or if it's something else. And then albums for the rest of the way, May and forward. I'm looking forward to these albums right here: Sia, Mdou Mokhtar, Kamasi Washington, Dua Lipa, F. Gibbons, Rhapsody, and more. But that's all the stories, that's all the new releases, that's all the upcoming albums we have for this week, and we got a bunch of stuff coming. Aside from these weekly news videos, we got some list videos coming your way that I'm working on, and so you'll be seeing me next Friday, but also probably again soon here with another type of video. So I'm gonna get back to work. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and at the latest, I'll see you guys again on Friday. All right, peace out, thanks for watching, you're the best.